Hello, Rotary Club of Harrisburg.
Good afternoon, everybody. John, Larry, Rick, Gillian.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Celine, Jeff, Kurt, Ken, Richard, Vlad, Matt, Mr. Schwartz, Steve there, Mike, Miriam.
Oh, it's so good to see everybody.
Yeah.
What was that little ding?
That's
Was there a
people-
little ding? I mean, that was like vaguely reminiscent of an alarm clock, wasn't it? I said, I'm at the Rotary meeting today. Don't talk to me about alarm clocks. Right. I feel like let's go ahead and ring the bell. Let's get our meeting started. By a show of hands here, and this is always a tough thing to do remotely, but by show of hands, how many of you think we should open our meeting with a moment of silence for our Kansas City fans? The Chiefs didn't do very well last time. Okay, I've got a few thumbs up. All right, I think we got the idea across. We feel bad for you, but hopefully you enjoyed the game anyway last night. Happy Monday. It is, well, it's not snowing, but there is snow in the forecast, and I think there is more coming for like the next several weeks. So if it turns out right, go build a snowman. Do something fun, make sure you get some time in the snow. But welcome to the Rotary Club of Harrisburg, our weekly meeting, club number 23 in all the world. It's so good to see everyone. Let's open our meeting today with an invocation. Karen, are you out there?
Yes, I'm ready. Dear God, as we move closer to Valentine's Day, a holiday we use to show love to those close to us, we first of all thank you for giving us all those we hold dear, spouses, family, and friends. Secondly, we ask you to open our eyes to see and be more aware of those hurting around us. Thirdly, we ask you to give us your love so we can in turn be loving to those in need, the poor, the homeless, the hungry, and the hurting. May we as members of Rotary be strengthened to show your love to the world. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Karen. And our song today is our very own Norma Swain. Great job, Norma. I'll tell you what, I miss hearing her play that piano. Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the Rotary four-way test of all the things we think, say, and do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Let's keep the Rotary four-way test front and center as we go through our week. We've got a few announcements for you. Sort of wandered away from, I've got 3 quick things, but that's the way it goes. Today's lunch budget is being donated to the Salvation Army, the Harrisburg Capital City region. Now, if lunches are not included in your dues, or if you'd like to make an additional donation to the Salvation Army, head on out to, ready for this? pa.salvationarmy.org/Harrisburg-PA. That is a really long website address. Okay, that's not part of it, but I needed to say that. We've had a great turnout for packing food boxes for the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank. Great teams of people coming out, and to make sure that you are signed up to participate, click on the link that is in the Rotary Roundup, delivered right to your email box every Friday, or go to the Rotary Club of Harrisburg website and click on the events calendar. Sign up for either February 22nd or March 22nd right there. Participating in this service project is a great way to connect with Rotary friends. Another great way to connect with Rotary friends and maybe make some new Rotary friends is to attend a virtual social hour. Now, one of the very cool things about virtual social hours is that since you are attending from the comfort of your very own home, you can drink as much as you want, right? And depending what it is that you're drinking, I mean, as long as you stay home, you're fine. One of the things that really bugs me about this slide, though, is that my favorite beverage is not pictured anywhere. If you think you know what my favorite beverage is that is not pictured on this slide, I want you to go to the chat box and type in what you think is President James's favorite beverage. The first 3 people who get that right, we will send you a very special Rotary gift. And while you're doing that, remember to get registered for that virtual social hour. Just click on the links in the Rotary Roundup, or again, go out to the Rotary Club of Harrisburg website. And what do we have here? We've got, oh my goodness, we've got a protein shake, beer, hot tea, birch beer, chocolate milk, clean water, decaffeinated chai tea, Dr. Pepper, whole milk, warm milk, tea, champagne, sarsaparilla, Mountain Dew, chocolate milk. We got 3 chocolate milks, and you know what? That it is, 3 chocolate milks. So those folks who put chocolate milk in the chat, we will be sending you a very special gift. So thank you so much to our corporate members. Oh, just, make sure you sign up for those social hours, those virtual social hours. There'll be lots of fun, and we look forward to seeing you. A great big thank you goes to our corporate members for your ongoing support: Capital Blue Cross, UPMC, Highmark, Hospice of Central Pennsylvania, and Harrisburg Regional Chamber and CREDIC. Your ongoing support helps us to really engage in many humanitarian projects and initiatives that we engage in throughout the Rotary year. You know, as a Rotarian, we routinely hear about meetings and projects and fundraising. One of the things we don't hear too much about that we thought would be a great idea to highlight today is an enormous but little known Rotary resource called the Rotary Learning Center. Now, the Rotary Learning Center contains a substantial list of training classes on topics ranging from Rotary leadership, professional development, and even public speaking training videos. Public speaking training videos grows out of Rotary's collaborative relationship with Toastmasters. So if you haven't been out to the Rotary Learning Center, make sure you head on out and take advantage of some of the truly high quality training resources available to you as a Rotarian. Remember, you take advantage of these resources by going to learn.rotary.org. When you go to learn.rotary.org, if for any reason you have trouble getting signed in, just send a note to Adeline and ask her to help you with your username and password. We've been mentioning for a few weeks now that we have a nominating committee coming up here, and we're taking nominations for board officers and directors. Contact Andy Rebuck, myself, or Adeline if you would like to be considered for that slate, or if you would like to nominate someone else. One of the great privileges always is to introduce new members, and this the person we're highlighting today is just a real special person. She's been a friend of ours for a number of years, and we want you to make welcome today as we do a new member highlight, my friend and our newest club member, Mary Kuna.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So, all right. So I'm Mary Kuna. I just moved back to the area actually in November, amid COVID and all, to accept the position of Executive Director of the Cumberland County Housing and Redevelopment Authorities. I actually grew up in northeastern Pennsylvania, so Scranton, Wilkes-Barre area. I have my Bachelor's of Science from the University of Scranton, and it was in political science. I worked on one campaign and decided I would never go into the political arena. So my senior year, a very wonderful professor told me I should apply to a program at Harvard and figure out if I liked urban planning. So I was accepted. I spent a summer in Boston and decided that I was, there's two forms of urban planning. You could either be a designer or a policy wonk. And I couldn't draw a straight line with a T squared. So I became a policy person. I ended up going to the University of Delaware School of Public Policy, where I received my master's in urban affairs and public policy. I worked for the City of Newark's planning department and was involved in the creation of an economic development agency between the New Cass County Chamber, the City of Newark, Delaware. It was great. It was a wonderful experience. It catalyzed my career into the world of economic development. I was then hired in Cecil County, Maryland, and spent some time there doing, again, economic development work, and ended up coming to South Central Pennsylvania. I was hired by Cumberland Area Economic Development Corporation about 7-8 years ago and helped them build up their economic development program. At the time, I also became one of the youngest people in the country to become a certified economic developer through the International Economic Development Council, which was a lot of studying and a lot of time, but did it. And then just had a moment of wanting a bit of a switch. there were just things happening in my life, and I ended up taking a job in the city of Pittston, where I'm from, in northeastern Pennsylvania, and it was a job in redevelopment and city government, and I actually really loved it. I loved everything about government agencies. I am a complete nerd in that respect. So I kept in touch with my friends here in Cumberland County and did some consulting work while I was away. But they called and said, do you want to come back and apply for this position? And I really did miss the area. So I took them up on it. I live over in Lower Allen Township in Cumberland County in Charter Homes Arcona development. And it's myself and my cat Delilah, who is quite the diva. And trust me, one, and that's it. One cat, that's enough. So outside of my professional job, I spend a lot of time volunteering. I am an outdoors person, and that's been very beneficial, particularly now with COVID. And in general, I just spend my weekends finding very interesting things to do all the time. So even with COVID, it has not stopped my road trips. Needless to say, I just don't end up dealing with anyone. So professionally, I'm this executive director of an agency that is responsible for everything that deals with housing here in Cumberland County. We administer all the housing choice vouchers. We deal with public housing, senior housing. We property manage a number of low-income tax credit properties throughout the area. We also manage vouchers for Perry County. On the redevelopment authority side, where I'm much more proficient, to be honest with you, we are doing a lot to remediate blight, and we manage all of the federal funding coming into the county. So we are the people who will be rolling out the giant rent relief package that you see the feds and now the state have bestowed on us. It's going to be great. It's going to help a lot of people, and I am delighted to join the Rotary. As I get older, there are things that I just very much value, and those values translated incredibly well. So I'm delighted to be here with all of you, and thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Good to have you here with us. And, lunch is on tap for sure. And looking forward to, as we gradually, all the vaccines and everything, we'll be meeting you in person. And we really look forward to that. So thanks again. All right, I'm getting ready to turn the mic over to Ellen Brown. Ellen's just, wow, she just does such a great job, keeping me in line when it comes to programming and so on. And Ellen, do you want to introduce our speaker today?
I'd like to, I'd love to introduce our speaker today. I'd like to say hello to everyone first. And I'd also like to send a special shout out to our czar, who is with us today. You have 4 members of the program committee trying to do what you did all by yourself, czar, and we are still in awe of you. Lenwood Sloan, our speaker today, most of us know him as Lenny, is well known across the United States as a catalytic agent, animator, and facilitator of cultural and heritage programs. His artistic credits include creating the Art in the Marketplace programs for the Rouse Corporation in New Orleans, St. Louis, Boston, and Baltimore. In addition, he participated on the artistic team for 4 national public television documentaries, Trey Untold Story, Emmy Award-winning Ethnic Notions, Stephen Foster, and the Emmy Award-winning Black Dance of America. For the past 30 years, he's collaborated with the renowned Mick Maloney, presenting programs, concerts, and masterclasses on the convergence, contributions, and conflicts of Black and Irish experiences in the United States. Their collaboration has taken the pair from New York to San Francisco and Cuba to Limerick, Ireland. And he's with us here today in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and it's always a pleasure to introduce Lenwood Sloan.
Thank you very much, Rotary. I miss being your guest at the table at the Hilton, and I look forward to the veil of the pandemic being lifted so that we can all be together. I've asked Adeline if she would advance my slide presentation for me, and so we'll begin. Today's presentation is titled Thomas Morris Chester at the Crossroads of History. And it begins with the new monument at the 4th and Walnut Street corner of the South Lawn on the site that we have created entitled the Irvis Equality Circle. And it ends with the exciting news about the development of the Thomas Morris Chester Center, Welcome Center and Research through the Dauphin County Library System. May I have the next slide, please? This is a very important quote that I would like to linger on a minute. It was spoken by Carter G. Woodson, the father of Black History Month, in 1926. It took actually to 1976 and the Ford administration to actually make Black History Month a federal national program and an opportunity for communities to do immersion into African American experience as American experiences and not simply as Black experiences. So the first person that I'd like to introduce you to in Black History Month is Carter G. Woodson, whom you should Google. Thomas Morris Chester's early life began at 314 Chestnut Street. 314 Chestnut Street is now the International House. It was the home where he was born, and it was the home that he came back to in 1892 and passed away in. So he made his journey from Chestnut Street around the world and back again. His parents owned the Oyster House underneath the courthouse, which is now the site of the Whitaker Center. And here you see two very important pieces, the PHMC marker outside of the Whitaker Center, which officially designates it. It's on the site of his parents' Oyster House. And diagonally across the street, the 150th anniversary of the Civil War marker that talks about that Oyster House as a scene for abolitionists and anti-slavery advocates in Harrisburg. Next slide, please. Chester, when he was 16 years old, was accepted into the Avery College in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The Reverend Charles Avery, an abolitionist and advocate of not only the end of slavery, but the franchise for Black men, invited Mr. George Vachon, who is in the center, George Vachon, to be the first president of Avery College. Today, Avery College is incorporated into Duquesne University. There, Thomas Morris Chester met the very renowned Martin Delany. Martin Delany has an incredible history of his own. And so these are the next two gentlemen I'd like to put on your Black History Month Google, Mr. George Vachon and Mr. Martin Delany. Next slide, please. Martin Delany was an advocate of Back to Africa movement, of the immigration movement for freedmen and freemen in the United States. And I need to quickly define the difference between freedmen, F-R-E-E-D-M-E-N, and freemen. Freedmen were men and women who had experienced the bondage of slavery while in their lifetime. And freemen, F-R-E-E-M-E-N, were the children of freedmen born free in the United States, both above and below the Mason-Dixon line. Martin Delany sent Thomas Morris Chester to the Niger. They even bought a boat. The boat was funded by Abraham Lincoln, who gave them $500,000 to explore the return of Black men and women to Africa. I'll pause a moment so you can read Lincoln's words as he met with those Back to Africa movement people. There's a great deal of mythology about the fact that Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves. He did not free the slaves. The war freed the slaves between 1863 and 1865. From 1861 to 1863, Lincoln's intention was to save the Union, not to free the slaves. Next slide, please. Chester's mother called him back home from Niger and from the riverbeds of Sierra Leone and Ghana in 1860 and 1861 when the war broke out. He formed a militia in Harrisburg to protect the city, and he waited along with free Black men and women of Harrisburg for the passage of the Emancipation Proclamation. On January 15th of 1863, 125 Black men and women met in the Bethel AME Church in the old 8th Ward to write a rebuttal to Abraham Lincoln about the Emancipation Proclamation. They sent 70 representatives, of which Thomas Morris Chester was one of those representatives, to Lincoln to discuss the fact that the Emancipation Proclamation had no reference to or actions to advance Black men and women who were freedmen or freemen. It only talked about those who were enslaved. But they decided to negotiate with Lincoln for the employment and the inscription of Black men into the Union Army. And so beginning in March of 1863 and until 1865, Thomas Morris Chester became a recruiter for the United States Colored Troops, recruiting 127 regiments of African Americans for the Union Army and helping to launch Camp William Penn on the lawns and the grounds of Lucretia Mott to train Black soldiers. Next slide, please. Chester then became the first African American to be a correspondent of a major newspaper in America. He worked for the Pittsburgh Tribune first, and then for the Philadelphia Independent, and became a war correspondent to the Army of the Potomac. Next slide, please. Chester, following the end of the war, the United States held the Grand Review in Washington, D.C., and U.S. soldiers marched down Pennsylvania Avenue to the Congress building to be mustered out or to have their final service. But that ceremony neglected to include 180,000 freedmen and freemen who fought in the Army. And so Chester, William Howard Day, and Octavio Cato organized the Grand Review of the United States Colored Troops right here in Harrisburg, marching down what is now Commonwealth Avenue to Simon Cameron's home, where they were mustered out. It became this seminal event for Black soldiers in the Civil War. Next slide, please. We have had 2 reenactments of the Grand Review here in Harrisburg, the first in 2010 and the second in 2015. And while we did not have the 15,000 soldiers that they drew in 1865, we did have over 800 reenactors of USCT soldiers from 25 states come to Harrisburg. Next slide, please. And here is where I'll need to leave the history lesson on Thomas Morris Chester. And I'd like to say, when last we met, we had just installed the first 2 of the 4 bronze figures of the monument project. On August 26th, we inaugurated the Irvis Equality Circle. We placed the iconic orator's pedestal on the circle with the names of 100 residents of the old 8th Ward, and we installed the first of 4 figures of our tableau, William Howard Day and Francis Harper. Here you see Kelly Summerford, our secretary, and myself standing in the place where the next 2 statues were to be placed. Next slide, please. We immediately began to form the figure of Thomas Morris Chester to be placed upon the circle. And here, from your left to right on the screen, you see the evolution of the creation of the sculpture and the bronze figure of Thomas Morris Chester by Becky Alt and her incredible team from the Arts Research Enterprises of Lancaster. On the far left is the maquette clay figure in miniature. To its right is the rebar skeleton of Thomas Chester. Then on that rebar, she begins to sculpt his body. His head is sculpted separately so that she can get every gesture and nuance. Next slide, please. From that point, they begin to paint with patina and with a blowtorch. This is a chemistry lab. From the sculpture and the wax molding to the pouring of the bronze figure, they then begin to apply 1 coat at a time the patinas and paint with the fire. To your right, you see Kelly Summerford, our treasurer, with the full bronze figure. To that right, you see Thomas Morris Chester with unique elements. His pen representing and notebook representing him as a journalist, and his white carnation, which is symbolic of the descendants of the old 8th Ward. To the very right, which is covered, you see the words on his notebook that he is inscribing. And the words on that notebook are the committee of the monument project, whose names will be standing there hopefully for the next 100 years. Next slide, please. Thus, on November 16th, we were able to complete the quartet around the monument pedestal of Thomas Morris Chester listening intently to the dialogue of William Howard Day and Francis Harper as Jacob Compton looks on with pride. Chester, who was born free. Compton, who was enslaved and escaped on the Underground Railroad. William Howard Day, a freeman who helped to institute and pass the 15th Amendment through the work of the abolitionists, and Francis Harper, an African-American suffragist who is passing the 15th Amendment back to the gentleman, saying, I don't see women anywhere. We still have work to do. It would be 50 years before. We are happy to announce that the monument project has been designated by the Toni Morrison Society as one of 30 significant heritage iconic sites across the world. And on April 27th of this year, the Toni Morrison Society will place the famous bench by the roadside. It's a line from one of her poems. Do you have a place to rest and reflect and remember? Do you have a bench by the roadside? It will be placed on the grass island facing the monument, so the monument will simultaneously become a place of reflection and one of 30 World Heritage Sites designated by the Toni Morrison Society. And we will be inducted this year with Haiti, with Tucson, with Oklahoma's, and with a bench in Paris. We're also happy to communicate to you our partnership with the Dauphin County Library System as they develop their T. Morris Chester Welcome Center. We will collaborate with them to connect the monument on one end of Walnut Street to the Welcome Center on the other through interpretive programming like our Live and Learn Center, where reenactors bring the stories of Chester and the other monument figures live, and also our Chautauqua series, where we bring scholars, humanists, writers, educators, and those who are inspired by living history together to explore the history of our city, our county, our commonwealth, and the nation. Next slide, please. We'll kick off our partnership on February 18th with our Lyceum and Chautauqua series called Making a Monument, in which we will bring organizations like ours from 6 cities around the United States, New York, Baltimore, Wilmington, North Carolina, Atlanta, Georgia, and Lexington, Kentucky, together through a Zoom series to talk about public-private collaboration and the challenges, opportunities, and inspirations of building monuments while other communities are discussing removing monuments through the controversies of content. It's an each one, teach one public-private series, and we hope that you look for the library's Zoom link to that workshop where we learn and teach each other on the negotiation of public space and the civic dialogue of public art. We'd like to thank TFEC, the Foundation for Enhancing Communities, our fiscal agent, and our mothership. Also, the International Institute for Peace Through Tourism. We are one of the 240 peace parks around the nation, and they dedicated the monument as a new peace park on August 26th. We'd like to thank our newest partner, the Dauphin County Library System, and of course, the county and the city for their continuous support and contributions. Next slide, please. And now I'll take Q&A.
Well, there's a question that came in here, Lenwood, and I would say just, first, before we go to questions, thank you so much. That's right. Let's give it up here for Lenwood and his presentation so far. I just enjoy, your presentations, Lenwood, and it's so good to have you here with us. Could you tell us a little bit more about those reenactors?
Yes, the reenactors are the Pennsylvania past players. They are not reenactors. They are living history because they do not portray, they become the people. A reenactor is a third person storyteller who wears the costume or clothing of the period and speaks in the third person to inform, engage, and enhance your knowledge of a period. A living history is a person who becomes that person, transported with full omniscience into time. The Pennsylvania Past Players was first started in 2010 through our partnership with HACC, and we're happy to say that HACC is going to launch the new study. It's a 3-year course. The first year is in living history. The second is in museum, docent, and step-on training. And the third is in tourism and concierge training. After 3 years, they're placed in the community in public places. And we have 11 of the original 24, and we hope to reignite the company through the fall of 2021, beginning retraining of fast players. They'll be housed at the library by 2022.
Yeah, thank you. So I'll just kind of throw out a real, kind of broad question. I'll let you think on this for a minute while I make one other comment, and then I'll come back. If you could kind of wave a magic wand and say, this is how I think Rotary could be involved more, and just, everything you've been discussing there. I'd love to hear you just talk for a couple of minutes on that topic. But while you're thinking about that, a special thank you to Rotarian Jeb Stewart for the work, Jeb, that you've done on the monument project. So we appreciate that. That's right. Let's hear it for Jeb. Now back to you, Lenwood, on that wide open question.
I have to first acknowledge Jeb at every level of my presentation, from the groundwork of the installation of Jeb is the site coordinator for the monument project, which meant that he'd simultaneously dealt with the city, the county, and the Commonwealth through the Department of General Services. He also worked with me exclusively as we were required to get both the House and the Senate to approve the placement. No easy task. And so kudos to Jeb.
A few more gray hairs over there, right, Jeb?
Yes, Jeb wore the gray hairs. I didn't,
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right.
Jeb got the gray hairs. So there's three ways that Rotarians can participate. The first is that they can encourage their colleagues, employees, boards, and associates, their clients, and their advocates to visit the monument project. We encourage you to visit the monument. Our campaign is called Meet Me at the Monument. We encourage you to take a selfie and to post it on our website, which is monumentpaus.com. So that's the first way, is to make it a living place by visiting it, hopefully sitting on our Toni Morrison bench and reflecting a moment on that history, and then sharing with your colleagues. The second way is through the Dauphin County Library System to join us on our 8-part Lyceum series called Thomas Chester at the Crossroads, where we talk about the notion of placing public art in public places and negotiating public spaces in the civic dialogue. This is a cultural literacy and a cultural competency series. And it would be important for all of you who are working on cultural literacy and cultural competency in your workplace to join us. The third is to bring the past players into your boardroom, into your staff meetings, and into your organizations and associations for a really lively transportation of the presence of the past amongst you. Often when people meet the past players, they forget that they are not they, and they speak to them and engage with them as though the past is transported into the place. So there's an opportunity for you to enrich your own programs in the workplace. There's an opportunity for you to connect our series to your cultural competency programs, and above all, through heritage tourism, there's an opportunity for you to visit.
Great, thank you so much. And Karen Collings, I know you're out there here on the meeting somewhere, so just make sure you keep us posted with that link, so we can follow along like that. A note, oh yes, Karen just sent this note. Watch the library website at dcls.org for more information on the Live and Learn series. So wow, what a great presentation, Lenwood. Yeah, let's just give a great big Rotary Club of Harrisburg thank you to Lenwood Sloan.
Very much.
Again, it's the Zoom applause is never quite the same. but we so appreciate you, and again, thank you so much for being with us.
I would like to end just with one comment. I focused on Thomas Chester's work in Harrisburg, but he is equally well known in Philadelphia, in Pittsburgh. He was the first Black barrister in London, and he was the Secretary of Education in New Orleans at the time of his death when he came home to Harrisburg. So he's our treasure. You know, we should all lift him up by communicating this month, Black History Month, his importance and the number of sites around our town that we pass every day that were the junctions of his life.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you again. Rotary Club of Harrisburg. It's, you know, the hour has flown by. It's incredible how quickly that goes. And we have no meeting next week in honor of what, either President's Day or Valentine's Day. I mean, which I guess we'll say it's in honor of President's Day, but Valentine's Day is in there. And you know, with this announcement, you have a 6-day lead time. So make sure you send out that Valentine to that special person. Send a Valentine to like your fellow Rotarians as well. And but at least to those special people in your life, and you'll be able to say that you were encouraged to do that right here in our Rotary Club meeting today. So no meeting next week. Our next meeting is February 22nd. Dr. Lori Carter, president of Shippensburg University, will be with us that day. We're really looking forward to her presentation. Make it a great Rotary week and enjoy the snow if we get some.
Thank you.